What you think the importance of public education is and what might be done to improve it.
Charlie, with all that time to prepare, what do you have to say about education?
Well, I certainly agree with Milton Friedman that it would be hard to name one factor, if we could fix it, that would be more worthy of fixing than education in the United States. Particularly the lower grades in education, where the failures are so horrible in many big cities particularly. So yes, I think it's a terrible problem, and it needs fixing. Of course, there's a huge debate as to what the best way is to fix it. And I am skeptical myself of big city school systems getting fixed under their own momentums. In other words, I'm quite sympathetic to the people who say we may have to go to an alternative like vouchers, that the incentive structure has gotten so bad in some places that you can't fix it with evolution. It takes revolution. Warren, you're more optimistic about it.
Charlie perspective on education in the United States highlights the need for improvement, acknowledging the existence of significant problems. While recognizing the pressing issues, Charlie remains skeptical about how to effectively address them.
I'm not necessarily more optimistic. I probably feel, though, that democracy without a good public school system available to the entire population is sort of a mockery, because there's so much inequality to start with. I mean, it isn't just an inequality of money, but I mean, my kids, whether they inherit any money, or your kids, whether they inherit any money, compared to the kids of somebody that where both parents are struggling to keep the place going, or maybe just one parent and living in poverty. I mean, it is so unequal to start with that if you accentuate that inequality by giving those who are generally higher up on the ladder also a far better education than you give those who have chosen the wrong womb. I think that's just, I don't think the society should tolerate that, or a rich society should tolerate it. That doesn't mean it's easy to solve, because I've said a lot of times that unfortunately that it seems like a good public school system is like virginity, that it can be preserved but not restored. And it's very hard when you get a system that's lousy to do much about it, because under those circumstances the wealthy people are going to all opt out of the system, and they're going to be less interested in the bond issues, they're going to be less interested in the PTA, they're going to be less interested in the outcome of the other people's children if they have all opted out for their own system. And to have one educational system for the rich and another for the poor, with the poor being getting the poorer system, strikes me as doing nothing but accentuating inequality and other problems that result from that in the future. So I don't know the answers on improving the system. I read some of the experiments that take place, but I do believe, to start with, that if you have a good public school system as we do in Omaha, that you do your damnedest to maintain that, so that there is no incentive for the rich grandparent or the rich parent to say, I love the idea of equality, but I love my grandchildren or my child more, so I'm going to yank him from the public school system. And then you get this sort of exodus, which leaves behind only those who can't afford to make that choice. And the problem I have with the voucher system, if there were a way, the idea of competition I like, and I think a good parochial system does, for example, create a better public system. And I think we've had that situation in Omaha. But I think the voucher system, if it simply amounts to giving everyone an additional amount, simply means that the rich get X dollars of the public school system subsidized, but the poor still are, whatever that differential is, remains. I mean, you could have a golf voucher system, because I play golf. I don't play very often, but if I play at the Omaha Country Club, and you could have a voucher system so that everybody in Omaha would have more access to the country club by giving everybody $1,000 a year that played golf, but it just means it would reduce my bill by $1,000, but it still wouldn't do the job for the guy who's on the public course, because he'd still be beyond his means to move to full-scale equality with me. I don't think there's anything more important, and I agree with Charlie totally. I think the first 8 grades, you can forget it after that. If you have the first 8 grades right, good things are going to flow, and if you have those wrong, you're not going to correct it as you get beyond that point. And I think that, I commend Walter Annenberg on the $500 million. I think it is very tough to see results in that arena, and if you find something that is producing results, I think it should be replicated elsewhere. I think that obviously a fellow in Chicago says that the unions have caused considerable problems in getting adjustments made, but he had the political clout behind him to overcome some of those problems. It ought to be a top national priority. We have the money to educate everybody well in this country, and the question is if we got, can we execute? And that's something I hope good minds like Patrick's work on.
Warren added to this sentiment, emphasizing the critical role of good public schools in sustaining democracy and addressing existing inequalities. This perspective underscores the complexities and challenges inherent in reforming the education system to ensure equal opportunities for all students.
Charlie, you have anything for that?
Yeah. I think when something is demonstrably failing at performing the function to which it's assigned by a civilization, just to keep pouring more and more money into a failing modality is not the Munger system. So I'm all for taking the worst places where there's failure and trying a new modality. And it wouldn't bother me at all to have vouchers only for the poor. But I think we have to do something in our most troubled schools to change our techniques. I think it's insane to keep going the way we are.
So you go for means-tested vouchers, basically.
Well,
I don't disagree with that idea.
But all I know is where it is a terrible place to fail, and part of the trouble is ideological. If you have a absolute rule, there can't be any tracking by ability, no matter how much better reading can measurably be taught by systems that involve tracking. Well, people that brain blocked shouldn't have the power. We should do what works.
No, we got plenty. All know it works. The problem is that once it gets beyond a certain point on a downhill slope, essentially you have the citizens that are able to do something about it essentially opt out, and that I don't know.
I am a product of the Omaha Public Schools. And in my day, the people who went to private schools were those who couldn't quite hack it in the public schools. That is still the situation in Germany today. Private schools are people who aren't up to the public schools. I prefer a system like that. But once a big segment of that system measurably fails, then I think you have to do something. You don't just keep repeating what isn't working.
Well, I agree with that.
Charlie Munger's statement, "Education is a terrible place to fail," underscores the critical importance of a robust education system in shaping individuals' futures. Charlie highlights that failure within the realm of education can have significant and far-reaching consequences for individuals and society as a whole. What are your thoughts on the need for improvement in the U.S. education system and the potential obsolescence of our educational techniques? Are you in favor of change? And if so, how do you believe it should be implemented? Your feedback is appreciated. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please join us tomorrow for further insights on enhancing our investment portfolios. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.